I said to him, have you ever had an affair? And he looked at me in horror, and he didn't know whether to say yes, pumping himself up a little bit, and absolutely not, because his wife's sitting across the way, and he almost passed out on the floor. And well, actually, no, actually. And the conversation went on from there. Actually, we had a great evening, but I was just kind of playing.
And did he actually have an affair? Did we actually establish whether he had an affair or not?
I knew before I asked. I was pretty sure he hadn't.
He wasn't that type. You can sniff that a mile off, can't you?
You do.
Yeah, actually, how can you sniff that in a bloke?
I don't know. It's nature. It's nature's way of protecting you or
come
not.
On, it's nature. You can't come on here and tell me it's nature.
When he signals that he's available.
and he checks out your glasses and the tip of your nose.
And you can especially sniff it out if you're his wife.
Mary. As a wife. No. But Mary, the ageing process again, because I think it's very interesting what you're saying. You don't care. Because I see men getting older and they care a lot. Actually, as men get older, they begin to care actually even more. And a lot of men in their 50s and 60s and 70s really care about their image, they care about the projection of themselves, they care about what people think about them.
Well, I would think that men always do think about their image, no matter what age they are. I don't think it's just as they're growing older. But to be honest with you, David, I feel I'm at my peak now. I really do. All my experience in my life and all that I've learned from other people, and I'm really enjoying myself.
In a way, let's say 10 years ago you didn't. Tell me, what's the difference between now and 10 years ago?
Well, I'm doing something that, as a senator, politics was my hobby. While I was doing my business, working as an entrepreneur, that was 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 16 years. But politics was my hobby. So now I'm doing my hobby full-time. And
So in terms of your career, things are going much better than...
Well, no, the success of Lear Chocolates is a tremendous sense of satisfaction, because we have 85 people employed there now.
Yeah.
But getting paid for your hobby, I want to change I feel myself inside, I am ageless in myself, and I want to change the world. And I feel that all my experience to date I have the mechanism in my mind how to make change in society. And that's the trajectory.
Listen, you've got the job. You've got the job. It's all right.
It's a job
It's all right. Just tick it off there. You're my nominee.
No, seriously.
But in
seriously.
Mary, you're going to say something. Just pick it up what Mary said.
I mean, a lot of women really do feel that they want to start a new life in their 60s. You know, they've raised their kids, or they've done whatever they wanted to do in their life, and they have a new spurt of creativity, and they often do absolutely amazing things, and you know, that's very, very important. I mean, I remember, you know, my husband saying to me, you know, they've got all these bursaries awards for promising new writers. Why can't they have a bursary for a promising old writer? You know,
an old writer can be a new writer.
Yeah, sure.
Reinvented under a pseudonym.
And that actually has to be said.
I think the novelist Mary Wesley was in her late 60s when she first started.
Yeah.
Can I ask all of you?
Cervantes was 67 when he wrote Don Quixote.
Was he 67?
Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah.
Can I ask all of you about, you know, the way, for example, men, as they get older, become distinguished. They can become more interesting. So he's very interested in his 60s.
You're obviously hanging out with different men.
No.
I'm hanging out with.
Who are you hanging out with? Who are you hanging out with?
I had a lovely hairdresser who's now dead, poor man, who used to work in here, and he once said, when I started colouring my hair, because there was this little bit here, and he said, no, Emer, distinguished in a man, aging in a woman.
This is the
absolutely, that is the bit of cosmetic artifice that I think all women should go for. And I've got other theories about cosmetic surgery.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually think it's immoral, and then occasionally
Why do you have to be so judgmental, Emer?
I'm terribly judgmental. I always have
You
been.
secularists are so puritanical.
And then
Mary.
but then when I see myself in a particularly unforgiving light, I think, well, maybe it's not.
Mary.
No, I think cosmetic surgery is. I've lots of friends who are going for cosmetic surgery.
Have you had some?
I haven't. I've done a little Botox and perhaps due to do a little bit more Botox. But I mean, my concern about cosmetic surgery is that I don't think general anaesthetics are very good for your brain when you get older, and that's that's where my worry would be. But I think, I mean, if you want to do it, if it makes you feel happy, go for it. I mean, I'm told Costa Rica is the place to go. Actually,
Costa Rica for the full thing.
Really,
One
really.
of the things that I've noticed is that the kind of women who think that cosmetic surgery is a terrific idea, and they're lining it up progressively from, having their first Botox, shall we say, when they're 32 or something like that. They're constantly yearning, and they're never happy. So, in fact, cosmetic surgery is quite frequently the signal of a woman who's not happy.
Well, I mean, you see, I don't know if you saw Jennifer Aniston on the cover of GQ. This is a woman who's a stick insect and has got these enormous boobs, and it's clearly like this is an image that doesn't work, and it certainly doesn't work as you get older because it's actually not natural.
But let us be tolerant about these
Oh
things.
yeah, well that's true.
I mean,
that's a fair
that's
point.
the point.
And
When
you actually
in some ways, yeah.
Do you think people become puritanical then?
Well, it's very paradoxical because in some ways, you do become more tolerant about things, and because you've been there, you've done it, you've seen it all, and nothing surprises you anymore.
Are you unshockable now?
Pretty, I suppose so. And you see, you see a different side to things. I mean, everybody was complaining about sort of David Blunkett recently and saying, what a fool he'd made of himself, in Britain. And I suddenly thought, well, in a way, this is a very sad and romantic story about a man who's lost a great deal, and so you find yourself coming up with a sort of understanding. And actually, I hear the echo of my mother's voice saying sort of kind of compassionate things.
Angela's chuckling about the echo of your mother.
But in other ways, you become less tolerant. I can't stand all the political correctness, all this scolding. There's an advert. Oh God, I can't stand it. And there's an advert which says, drink Joe Bloggs' wine, but drink it prudently. And I think, stop telling me off. Advertisers, and of course this smoking thing in Ireland, it's given the government, it's turned Ireland into the Soviet Union, You've got signs in private clubs.
This is a yearning from the Sunday Independent.
How dare the state enter one's life like this? It's appalling.
Angela, let's talk about the nanny state. To a degree, I mean, it is interesting to think about, booze, but don't booze that much. Smoke, but only smoke outside, or if you're going to smoke.
You see, there are no reverend mothers, so everybody's become a reverend mother.
Angela, what do you think of that point?
Well, there are reverend mothers.
I think it's an interesting point. There are no reverend mothers anymore. It's very different. We're regulated out of our heads. Now, I have to say, I support the smoking ban because I don't smoke and I can't stand being in smoky atmospheres. So that's totally a personal thing. But I am tired of being told I can't go up this street, I can't go down that street. I'm just sick of being regulated and the assumption that I can't regulate myself. Yeah, I've got to this stage and I'm alive, okay? My child is alive, I have poisoned nobody, stabbed nobody, killed nobody, and nothing terrible has happened to any of us.
The difficulty is, unfortunately, that an awful lot of people around who aren't prepared to regulate themselves, and and that comes down again to this old-fashioned notion of manners and consideration for other people. Because I can think of somebody who is a great deal older than me, who I regard as offensively rude, and her version of life is that she's an egalitarian, but in her case it means being equally rude to everyone. I mean, why the hell can't you be equally polite to everyone?
Mary?
Last year when I met you, David, I brought my document and you approached childcare, if you remember, and I have just started on a mission on a new approach to ageing and ageism, because people are living much longer. All of us will live much longer. So we're going to have to deal with the problems of that. But I do...
But the opportunities of that.
I
mean, this is what we're talking about here. It's not a problem.
But just let me make my point. President Reagan was 76 in the middle of his second presidency. And he said that he had a hearing aid, he was shot at, and he had cancer twice. And he said, I never felt better in my life.
So what you're saying is that, again, this is an issue of ageism, are you saying? That people... Because
what I'm saying is, when I remember the day I was 21. I remember that day standing at a bus stop in Leeson Street, and my parents had given me a lovely pearl necklace from my birthday. And I remember I felt ancient. But now I feel totally free to do what I like. Nobody's going to stop me. Excuse me. Sorry. Nobody's going to stop me. I can reach my potential, and I'm free as a bird.
But you can be gaga at any age, actually, in terms of attitude.
Well, no, that's true. But to what extent, for example, are women, when they're younger, Mary, demanded to be pleasing to people? To be a pleasing type. And you get to a certain stage in your life and you say, I'm not going to please anybody
Sorry,
anymore.
could I just answer that from David? Sorry. When I was 21, correct role for a woman was to be deferential, to be polite and to be the image of the Blessed Virgin Mary in all senses.
Which is kind of shocking.
Yeah.
Actually, think of it. Actually, let's cut to the chase.
We would love to be
Mary.
like, listen, we'd love to be like Christine Keeler and Mandy Rice Davis, but we hadn't the nerve.
You'd have a better taste in
Now,
perfume on now, I hope.
No, I thought he was a very attractive man,
You wouldn't
actually.
like to be Christine right now, actually. Because
Well, I don't
she's
know
a
about now.
Poor old dear. Because, but this notion that young girls are deferential, it's an absolutely universal idea. It's very strong in India, for example. Very strong.
Oh, yeah, no,
it's
I'm
very
not saying
strong in the Far East.
It's strong
And
everywhere.
there may be a genetic basis for it, or at least an evolutionary basis for it, because there's also a recognition that as women grow older, they grow in authority and they grow in confidence, and they've less to, they have less to sort of, they get more brazen as well.
conform a lot
But
more
it
in
may
terms of-
be,
yeah.
it may be something, to be frank, it may be something to do with despite Emer's wonderful ability to pull guys, it may be something to do with leaving the sexual arena in a way, because you're not trying to pull anymore, you're not in that sexual sort of marketplace anymore, and that gives you, that Greek philosopher who
Mary,
said,
you've got to allow me to live in hope. I'm single.
and I think that is maybe a
But are you,
freeing
wrong?
thing
are
in
you
a way.
completely out of the sexual market?
No, that's
Are you?
wrong, Mary. That's very serious.
Well,
what
you're
you're
certainly out of
saying.
the childbearing.
Yeah, you're out of the childbearing.
procreation area.
Yeah, okay.
you're not.
But you're not out of the sex market.
Well,
at all.
no,
not.
David,
I
we're
think
not.
no.
Okay, on that note, thank you. We are not out of the sex
Women
market.
who try to pull in their 60s now.
Okay, we're not out of the sex market. Okay, that's it for this week. If you'd like to tell your own story on The Big Bite, or if there's an issue you'd like to see raised in the show, let us know. The email is thebigbite@rte.ie, or you can phone us on 1850 715 834. The phone lines are always open for an hour after the show. Now, join us next week, where we're going to be asking who's keeping Ireland's drug barons in business. Have a good weekend.